Welcome one, welcome all. It is the NFC East Mixtape, and this is March. This is the greatest crossover event ever attempted in the history of mankind. You can hear this podcast on all four NFC East platforms at SB Nation, Blog of the Boys, Bleeding Green Nation, Hogs Haven, Big Blue View for your Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, and Giants content. I am RJ Ochoa from Blog of the Boys. He is Brandon Lee Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation. BLG, happy March to you.
RJ, I can't wait to share with the listeners our bracket that we made. This big field, this tournament that we have of something that is definitely real. Actually, no, we don't have a plan for today's show, so that's fun.
So, full disclosure, like right away, just straight up, BLG and I thought we had a plan, actually. When we stopped recording last week, we said we went over something, and you said, that sounds cool. So I actually move forward with that assumption. And then on Tuesday morning, the day we record, you were like, hey, what if we talk about this? And I was like, that's really boring. And then you were like, what if we talk about this? And I was like, that's really boring. And so we hated each other's ideas. So we decided, well, it's time to record. Let's just be, and let's figure it out.
Let's riff, baby. Just riffing, baby, in the words of Daryl Morey. It's kind of a tough spot, RJ, to be us. I mean, obviously, it's never a tough spot to be us. Great jobs and whatnot. But in terms of content creation and everything, we're on the precipice of the combine here. It's just starting out as we're recording. Really, all the interviews and stuff are just about to take place right after we're done recording this. We're recording on Tuesday, March 1st at 11:17 a.m. Eastern, the premier time zone, if you will. So here we are.
Yeah, actually, we normally record at 11 a.m. Central. That's kind of like our normal window. And when I first messaged you to set this up, again, we're really stalling for time. I said, let's do 11 a.m. Central, and you said, cool, that sounds good. And I actually said, wait a minute, that's when Mike McCarthy is scheduled to speak. So we need to go earlier. So we've actually landed the NFC East Mixtape in some weird moments so far, especially this offseason. There are people who like Survivor that we both obviously like Survivor. Coming back next week, by the way.
Yeah.
And our show drops on Wednesdays, which is Survivor days. But so we have to wait an entire week to offer our thoughts on what happened. What's more is our show dropped on a Wednesday when the Commanders revealed their team name. So we literally had to wait an entire week to do that. So not the best planning as far as our content is concerned. It fits the best with our schedule. So you just got to, pros and cons. It's really the way it works.
Yeah, maybe we should reschedule it. Maybe not. I'm looking at Twitter here. What's Mike McCarthy going to say? What's he even going to say of interest? Anything?
So I am very, very interested both, to see what McCarthy has to say, because this is the first time he's going to speak since he went on the Rich Eisen show and clapped back at Jerry Jones.
He went on himself, right? He invited himself on, or
I mean, I don't know that specifically, but it was just him. And it wasn't during Super Bowl Radio Row where he was promoting I don't know.
MeUndies.
Yeah. I mean, something. It was just McCarthy. It was actually the week after the Super Bowl. It was the Tuesday after the Super Bowl. It's 2 weeks ago almost. That he just showed up and it was like, yo, I want to talk, and spilled a lot of things completely on his own. And so I'm anxious to see if he sings the company song or if he is his own dude. And I honestly, like I've told you 1,000 times, I want McCarthy to have full autonomy over this season. That's not saying I believe in him, but I need to see it. If we're going to do this, then do it. You know what I mean? If you're going to be Mike McCarthy's team, then be Mike McCarthy's team. And you know what, Mike McCarthy, if you're going to go down this season, do it your way, dude. You know what I mean? Don't go down just, playing the guys that Jerry and Steven want you to play. Oh, man, dude, Steven, and I already complained about this on a podcast for our listeners, but Steven on Monday was asked about Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence and was like, we'll see. We haven't had any of those discussions yet. That does not feel good. But asked about Zeke, literally, that guy's a warrior. I want that guy on my team. He's great. He played through an injury. And the most amazing part of there's two amazing things. One is that he said these things literally a minute apart. So he's completely contradicting himself. But what's more is he thinks it's this flex that Zeke played through injury, that they played him through injury despite having Tony Pollard on their team. So I am down in the dumps as far as confidence. The only thing I have to hold on to as a sports fan right now, because I'm also a Manchester United supporter, is my Detroit Pistons fandom that we were talking about, and that's only looking back on a team that was basically 20 years ago. So good times.
Yeah, the Pistons today not as good, I would say. I believe they're tied for the worst record in the NBA. So not great for that. What's going to happen with Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence?
My personal guess, not a report or anything, my personal guess is they cut them both. I think they're cutting Amari and DeMarcus Lawrence. This is the Stephen Jones cycle, and I've already gotten a lot of content out of this. Like I tweeted it, wrote about it, podcast about it. But so I'll tell you, Stephen Jones loves to wait. All right, loves to wait and pay players. Do you realize that he has tagged 2 different players twice in recent memory? It's hard to do. It's a very rare thing for one team to tag a player twice. He's done that twice with DeMarcus Lawrence and Dak Prescott, and then given them both long-term deals. Thankfully, I might add, but it shows a complete inability to forecast the market on behalf of the person who's supposed to be a professional at this very specific thing. He also blinked when Ezekiel Elliott held out. I mean, Steven thinks that he's like this grand wizard at negotiating, but he loses time and time and time again. And so he's now, talked himself into, he loves to talk about pie. What's your favorite pie, Phil G?
Pizza pie.
What a great answer. I was going to bag on you if you didn't say pecan, but that's a great way to answer that.
I said pizza, by the way, not pecan.
I know. If you had said like pumpkin or something like that, I was going to bag.
I like pumpkin for dessert. Yeah. But
that's what I'm saying though. But you came in out of nowhere with pizza. That's a great way and great way to keep it topical with the Pistons arena, Little Caesars Arena.
There's actually this kind of pizza where I grew up, RJ.
When the moon hits your eyes.
Watch out, you're gonna get us DMCA'd or whatever. It's called Trenton style tomato pie. It's like a pizza, but it's different because the sauce is on top. It looks like a pizza. It's basically very similar, but it's a little bit better. It's a little bit crispier. You can look it up after the show, and it's some of the best pizza in the United States. Probably
you want a hot take?
Yeah.
There's no I don't care about New York, Chicago pizza. I don't have a dog in this fight. It's all good. It's
pizza.
That's what I'm saying. But I will say I think this is Chicago style. You're more of a foodie than I am. I prefer the thicker kind. I want a thick pizza. I don't want this thin.
That's fair.
I got attacked for this last week, by the way, on Twitter. When we talked about it, but I want it to be like a pie. I want thick, and I want to eat it with a fork and knife. I want it to be that complicated. Dish. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think
deep dish is great, and too many people bag on it. The internet hates it, just like they hate mayo and all this other stuff. I know you're part of that.
The mayo's
a Nickelback, and it's just a very common denominator. It's called AVCC.
Kirk Cousins, which you jump on.
No, that is definitely a different thing. Because he gets a lot of praise from a lot of people. But anyway, I have a theory about pizza that I've kind of been working on, been crafting it carefully, and I think the best pizza is sauce on top. I think we traditionally think of pizza dough, then you put the sauce on, then you put the cheese. No, I think that's wrong because I think the sauce is kind of it disrupts the crust texture, I think. And with deep dish, like you're talking about, Chicago style, they actually do cheese on the bottom. It's the dough in the pan, and then they put the cheese down on that, and then they put the sauce on top. And I think because of how the sauce cooks too, with direct heat right on it, as opposed to underneath the cheese, I think there's something to it, cooking better. I don't know. I think with Chicago deep dish, with Detroit style deep dish, which is kind of really come up and been a thing in the food world, and I think is also really good. They also ladle the sauce on top of that pizza; it's not underneath. And then tomato pie, like I said, Trenton style tomato pie, they also sprinkle the sauce on top. So sauce on top, cheese on the bottom. That's the best pizza.
I've looked up this Trenton style tomato pie, and
it's thinner, but it's good. It's not so you're saying you're thicker, but I think you would like this. The taste is really good.
Yeah.
You can eat a ton of it too. You can eat a whole pizza. I can eat a whole pizza of almost any kind of pizza.
So I'm looking at this one photo, and we'll get back to Stephen Jones ruining the Cowboys in a minute. But it's all sauce. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
No, because there's a that's where tomato pie can get a little tricky. Because in Philly, tomato pie is more of just an actual maybe square rectangular kind.
That's what I'm looking at. It's it looks like a pool, where the water is sauce, and then there's just a little bit of cheese sprinkled on top.
No. That's a different kind of tomato pie. That's why I said specifically Trenton style tomato pie.
That's a big pizza pie. That's amore. Actually, people used to say that's amari. That was like a thing. Like when the Cowboys first traded, were like that's amari.
Transition king.
And Steven wants to kill that.
Why
and
though?
so,
Like why?
So
why is,
so that's his thing.
Yeah.
Like he loves to like refuse to pay players and then overpay players and then talk about how they're taking up too much percentage of the pie and then feel like, well, we need some salary cap space. Why do they need salary cap space? Because BLG, the Cowboys take big swings at free agents every single year. No, they need salary cap space to just like hoard and sign their value guys. Like, and some of those, pan out. Like this past season, they got a few of them, like Carlos Watkins and Jaron Kearse, but that doesn't happen every single year. But it did, which is only going to validate his theory. And then they get an influx of talent, and then those guys reach a point where they need new contracts. So soon enough, it will be Micah Parsons, and he will drag his feet on that, and then he will overpay him, and then he'll be somebody who takes up too much percentage of the pie, and then they'll have to do something there. And so it's just like look, I mean, I don't want to talk about quarterback contracts. Like, I'm so grateful that's not a part of my life this offseason, but Steven is here like, oh man, well, when your quarterback's taking up $40 million, you can only do so much. That's true, Steven. But if you had the foresight 3 years ago, you wouldn't be paying him $40 million. You'd be paying him like $36 million. And it'd be like well in the past by now. But because you don't know how to do this, that's where you're setting things up to fail. I mean, they literally said, BLG, he did on Monday, he effectively said they know they can kick the can down the road with restructures. And you shouldn't do every restructure, and he said, but we don't want to do that. Imagine you're Mike McCarthy and like your season's on the line and they're like, dude, I think we're going to get rid of Amari and DeMarcus Lawrence, but good luck. We'll see you later, coach. That would suck.
Do you want Amari and or DeMarcus Lawrence gone?
I don't. I mean,
do you think it's the right move for the team?
No, like I'm not going to sit here and like die on the Amari or Tank Hills, but I mean, I think they're both very good players. Again, like where they rank within the spectrum of like best Cowboys players to worst Cowboys players, I don't exactly know, but they're both top 7 players at the absolute worst, and the team is much better with them than without them. What's more is there is uncertainty at both of those positions this offseason. At wide receiver, Michael Gallup is a free agent. Cedric Wilson and Noah Brown are both free agents, obviously lower level players, but still important. And Randy Gregory's a free agent at defensive end. And they don't want to commit Micah Parsons to playing pass rusher full time. And like, if you wanted to do that, I still would think it was dumb, but at least you have an answer. But like, there is a world where not just Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup are both gone from your receiver room, but DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory are both gone from your defensive end rotation. So I don't see how that makes you good. Let alone, I don't see how that jives with Jerry Jones's, I'm so mad, I would do anything to win a Super Bowl. No, that's why when all these Cowboys fans bought that line after the season ended, they were like, well, Jerry's pissed, man. Watch out. He's going to do something. They haven't done anything. And what's more is they're only going to strip away from this team that already wasn't good enough. That's my rant. That's Amare.
It's kind of funny how quickly things can change. And I think you talked about this, or someone did on BTB recently, about how, oh man, look at the Cowboys. They have Amari Cooper, then they draft CeeDee Lamb, and then Michael Gallup's a good player too. And now it's like, I mean, dude, I guess you're going to resign Gallup if you don't bring back Amari Cooper, but I mean, he's still going to be a free agent.
That was me that wrote what you're talking about. And 2 years ago when they drafted CeeDee, it was like, well, they could all go for 1,000 yards like in a season. And granted, Dak got hurt, and then that was the first season, because we've only gotten 12 games with all three, and that's football. Like you right. Can't expect like that things are ever going to go your way. But so we've only gotten 12 games. So the first season, only Amari went over 1,000 yards. But again, Dak only played 5 games, not even 5 full games. And the second season, Michael Gallup missed a lot of time. Amari Cooper missed time. CeeDee Lamb missed a game. They all missed some time, but CeeDee Lamb did go over 1,000 yards. So in 6 total opportunities, 2 for each of them, you only have 2,000-yard seasons, or 1,000-yard seasons to show for it. They're 7-5 in the 12 games that they have played with those players, and Dak Prescott, for what it's worth. And most of those wins are against the NFC East. Woo, baby.
Yeah, speaking of that, I had an Eagles thing that I wanted to share with you that I was actually talking to Stats about the other night, because he sent me this article that I had already read at the time from Football Outsiders.
Big flex.
I don't know if you saw this.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Is this the 32 fan base delusions?
Yeah, from Mike Taylor.
I sent that to him, and then he tried to pawn it off to you as like, look at this cool thing I found. Wow, the audacity. Wow. But it was
Seeing how
great.
the sausage gets made here.
Oh, but so I know this is something that I've been saying is what you're
Well,
about to talk about. Okay,
okay.
let's sing the songs of RJ now. Let's go.
Well, I think this is a little bit of a straw man. And I like Mike. Don't get me wrong. I think Mike is a really good writer. I'd say we're friendly. But this idea
Who
that,
wrote the
like,
article you're talking about? Just
yes,
that
on
wasn't
Football
obvious, but-
Outsiders, about 32 fan delusions. The one for the Eagles is like, the delusion is that Howie Roseman sucks. And there's some stuff in there about like, oh, he's not a football guy. Do I ever say that? That's never my criticism of him. My criticism of him is I think he outsmarts himself a lot. And I also think that he isn't honest with, and the Eagles as a collective, I've been saying this for a while, are not honest about how they evaluate themselves. Like this idea that, oh, they missed the playoffs just once in the last 5 years. Like that sounds really good on paper, but when you kind of like drill down into it a little bit deeper, and I want to give credit to Sheil Kapadia here, friend of the SB Nation NFL show, also friend of BGN Radio, and kind of just, I would say, a friend of mine.
So not friend of the mixtape, just this cool. Just
We haven't had
leave
him on
us
the
out in the
mixtape yet.
cold.
We should
Well,
get
that's
him
whose
on.
fault is that? If he's your friend in all these capacities, whose fault is that?
I'm not blaming you. It's my fault, but I'm saying we should get him on at some point. Anyway, the point of this argument is that, and stick with me for a little bit here because it's a long walk maybe, but or maybe it's not. The Eagles have played 65 games since winning the Super Bowl. RJ, where do you think they rank in terms of point differential and winning percentage? I don't need exact rankings. That's maybe hard, but like, where do you think? Like,
Middle
top
of the
third
pack,
of the league. Yep,
because
middle of the pack.
if I say like I'm refreshing, like I'm going through it in my mind, like the season since 2018. I wouldn't say they limped into the playoffs, but they got into the playoffs somewhat strongly off of Nick Foles at the end, and then they
were in week 17 and they needed the Bears to win with no reason to play their starters.
Right, and they lost. They beat the Kirk Cousins led Vikings, right?
Yeah,
and then they beat the Bears in the playoffs off the double doink.
Right.
So, okay,
and that's also like going back to that. By the way, like everyone talks about how if Alshon didn't drop that pass, they make the Super Bowl again. Well, it's like, doesn't that kind of even out though with the double doink? It's like you got lucky like the double doink, and you got unlucky with Alshon thing. It's not like that evens out. It's not like, oh, you had this terrible luck.
People never look at that. Like I think a great example. I always think about this, but the 2014 playoffs. So you've got like if you start at the beginning, the Anthony Hitchens flag gets picked up against Detroit for the Cowboys, and the Cowboys win that game. And then the next week, the Dez catch happens. So the Cowboys are then on the wrong end of that. And then the next week, the Packers have like 18 things go wrong against the Seahawks in the NFC Championship game. And then in the Super Bowl, they have the not run with Marshawn Lynch, and Malcolm Butler picks it off, and the Seahawks lose. So it's like that will always kind of, that's the way football works and life works. It'll always kind of balance itself out. But so hang on, moving on, 2019, they win the division like kind of barely. And I would say that's because Dallas like collapsed with, on the final legs of Jason Garrett, and Carson Wentz got all the credit for that. Like, oh, he took all these practice squad receivers and blah, blah. And, Greg Ward Jr., he's a San Antonio Commander, and soon enough they'll be Washington Commanders. And so, but then they get embarrassed in the playoffs by the Seahawks. And then 2020 just kind of a total and complete failure. And this year only made the playoffs as the new added wildcard team. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of hollow. I agree.
Like, they are 18th in point differential and 19th in winning percentage, to put exact figures on it. They're just, my thing has been like, they're mediocre and irrelevant from a league-wide landscape. Like, not really talking about them on the SB Nation NFL show, unless like maybe I'm involved or like, some kind of connection to that. But like, better point, like, I read, Football Morning in America by Peter King and Albert Breer's Monday Morning Quarterback every week. And the Eagles are like barely in there. And if they are, it's very like tangentially. It's not even like directly about them. They're like maybe referenced. And that's like over a consistent amount of time. It's not just like recently. And that might change coming up here with these first round picks, but I'll get to that. Like this idea though, that like Howie Roseman is actually great and everyone is an idiot who criticizes him. I mean, the Eagles in the last 4 seasons, RJ, they've played 48 games against teams that aren't the Giants and the Washington football team, who've been largely a disgrace for the most part. They are 19-29 in those games. They have 4 straight seasons without a top 10 DVOA finish. Maybe you're not the biggest DVOA.
You're talking about overall DVOA.
Yeah, overall DVOA.
Gotcha.
Like not just like a single unit, like overall DVOA. Right. 4 straight seasons without a top 10 finish. Why is that significant? It's because it's the first time in franchise history since 1984 to 1987 that has happened. Like, isn't that kind of a signal that this isn't this amazing era? And maybe there should be criticism here?
I think I mean, you're doing this, but I think we tend to live in these like extremes. So like we love to say, and I say this seriously, like it can, like multiple things can be true. And so, and I know you're not saying like Howie Roseman's an imbecile. I know that's not the take, but like think like you mentioned like how the Eagles are somewhat insignificant, whatever. Like who like I'm just gonna rip off some teams in the NFC. Okay, these are the teams that I would categorically say have been far more successful than the Eagles in this stretch of time. Tell me if you disagree with any of them. The Rams. I would put the Bucks there just because if you win a Super Bowl, like even if it's just 1 year, you know, you get that. But we did have the second season, obviously, of Tom Brady. The Packers. We agree with that, right? Those three for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I would put the Saints there if we're talking since like 2017-ish, because that was kind of the tail. I mean, that was the great draft class.
3 straight 13-win seasons or whatever.
Right. So I would put the Saints there. So there's 4. I would probably put the Seahawks there still. I know that the last few years have left a kind of bad taste in our mouth. With
they beat the Eagles in the playoffs a couple years ago. Yeah.
And so did the Saints too. I mean, to that point. But so we're up to 5 teams now. But tell me if any of these teams, maybe the 49ers too. Yeah, so 6 teams. 6 teams.
Yeah, definitely
easily.
The 49ers.
Okay. But none of these, and like maybe the Cowboys are kind of equal with the Eagles in this sense. Like I think that since in the time since the Eagles won the Super Bowl, so 2018,
since the Super Bowl, yeah,
right, 2018 to now, I think they're both well ahead of these NFC franchises. The Cardinals, and tell me if you disagree. Cardinals, Falcons, Panthers, Vikings, Bears, Lions, Washington, and the Giants, easily,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So like. You're right, and like you're right.
That's mediocre. There's
no,
6
but like
teams ahead of him and the 6 teams below him, or whatever.
But my point is like it's kind of like everyone's mediocre. Like there's no like even the teams we listed, the Packers, the Bucks, the Rams, the Saints, the Falcons, and the Seahawks, or the 49ers and the Seahawks. Sorry, there's 2 Super Bowls from that to show for. Like we love to trash the NFC East. I don't know if you heard this, BLG, but people caught the NFC least because it sucks. But the NFC as a whole kind of sucks. Like that take is not out there. Like we love to focus on the NFC West and how they have, it's so great, so competitive, blah, blah, blah. But like that,
are you
that
Kyler
means
Murray's agent all of a sudden?
Oh yeah. 2-time Pro Bowler, double, whatever. So lame.
Toughest division in sports.
But the NFC as a whole is kind of weak and has been really in that time. I mean, like the Saints dominated it without even winning the NFC. The Packers haven't won the NFC. The Rams have won it the most times of anybody in this stretch of time and did it once with an awful quarterback. I mean, so like it's kind of a ho-hum conference where if you are occasionally really good, which I think is the case for Howie Roseman, you are one of the better, more elite people by product of the circumstances around you.
I mean, I just think it's crazy how it's like he's actually a top 5 GM, or he deserves.
I think he is. I think he is because like, there's so much mediocrity around him. Like as far as his competition.
All right, but he tore down this team and is now getting credit for like, oh, he did such a good job last year. It's like, well, like it didn't need to be in a rebuild if he freaking like was better at sustaining it. Like he tore it down in a way that gets forgiven because it's like, well, he was trying to maximize the Super Bowl window. Well, it's like, okay, well, first of all, he misjudged the timing on that, and second of all, his execution of that was terrible. So he doesn't like get credit for like trying something. Like it wasn't like he was trying to do this brilliant thing and it just didn't work out. Like no, like it didn't work out because he made a lot of bad decisions. And there are concerns moving forward about, okay, maybe he's good at like starting a rebuild and starting things over. But like, what are the Eagles going to do once they get to the point where they're ready to contend? Can he get them and can he maintain? He's shown the ability to build. Can he maintain? I don't know. Like, I don't think we know the answer to that. So yeah, I'm not trying to say he's an imbecile. I have a question for you though, related to all this. And this is the one that Shield posed too. What is more likely?
NFC East Mixtape.
What is more likely for the Eagles in 2022? They make the divisional round or they miss the playoffs. It's missed the playoffs.
No, I disagree because like I think if you make the playoffs, like if we think they're a playoff team, then the answer is the divisional round, right? Because at that point you're just one win away if you're not the 1 seed. And I mean, again, if we're playing like what's more likely, playing off of likelihoods and probabilities and whatever, we love to talk about how this division hasn't had a repeat champion since 2004. And so if we live in that world where the Cowboys don't win the division and I just sat here and crapped all over them, Are the Commanders winning it? Are the Giants winning it?
I mean, you can still win it and not make it to the division.
No, but that's why, even like, you're right, that's possible. But for that reason, I would take that as more likely, because I think that the Eagles are the most likely non-Cowboys team to win the division, and that puts them one game away from achieving that. So I would say that.
Who do you think is more likely out of the Giants and the Washington to win the division? Yeah,
the Giants, because I think it's. To be clear, I don't think any of these things are likely, but I think it's more likely that Daniel Jones sees a Josh Allen-like bump from Brian Daboll than it is that Washington finds a quarterback to take them to the next level. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well,
do you
that's
agree?
my Eagles thing.
Do you agree? On the subject of Washington, I saw this a little while ago. Oh, actually, I saw this, like, this has been all over the place, that the Commanders are going to take a big swing at a quarterback. Brandon, they want Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, or I mean, whoever the case is going to be. But we talked about this last week, how there's this like social media thought that because Russell Wilson changed his profile photo on Twitter to a photo of him in high school when he played high school football in Virginia, that he is headed to, like, I love stuff like this. Like, I love connecting loose social media dots. This is way beyond anything I would ever do. But Russell was on the Today Show on Tuesday. Did you know this? You a big Today Show fan?
No.
What's your favorite Good Morning show? Your Good Morning America or Today Show in the battle?
I don't really watch any of those anymore. I used to be a Good Morning America person. Was that on before or after Regis and Kelly? I used to watch some Regis and Kelly. Remember being like home in summer and watching that.
So I've shown you this before. I have this is not an ad, but I have Fubo and as my TV provider, and I have an Apple TV as the device that like powers that. And there is a function where you can have a quad screen, so you can have like 4 things on at once. I actually have that on behind
quad box.
And so I normally have like Good Morning Football on one. I've generally got ESPN on one, Golf Channel on the other, and so to keep me aware of the events in the world, I have a morning show on. I am Team Good Morning America. So seems like you
Big
are
Michael
as well.
Strahan,
And
right?
Yeah, well, and Regis, and it's not Regis and Kelly, it's Ryan and Kelly comes on after.
Rest in peace, Regis.
Right. Russell Wilson was on our rival show on the Today Show on Tuesday, and
our
was
rival
asked.
Show.
Well, we're Team Good Morning America. By the way, NFC East Mixtape listeners, are you Team Good Morning America or Team Today Show? Let us know on Twitter. Brandon is at Brandon Gunn. I am at RJ Ochoa. Use hashtag show, since everybody loved the hashtag.
No,
thing.
You can't. No, you can't do this because it's so bad when you click on it and it's just a bunch of crap. You want to see other people, like listeners want to find other listeners and maybe engage, or at least we can track it better. It has to be like, hashtag watch.
How about this? Hashtag mixtape morning, because it's a morning show.
Good job.
Here we go.
By you. Mixtape morning.
All right. So BLG and I are firmly Team Good Morning America. Are you Team Today Show? But Russell Wilson was on the Today Show and was asked about going to Washington, as in, DC. And he said, "I'm from Richmond. I know what you mean. I got people hitting me up every day, all my friends and all that from the East Coast."
Why aren't you doing it in his voice?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I got this. I'm from Richmond. I know what you mean. I got people hitting me up every day, all my friends and all that from the East Coast, but Seattle's the place to be. I'm at right now, and I love it. I love it. Seattle, go Hawks, baby. I mean, because over on the West Coast, I mean, we call ourselves the West. Cali gets the West Coast vibes. LA, I know the Rams won the Super Bowl, but we're the West Coast too. You see it on Sunday Night Football, right? We throw the fish at the place, and we've got the Starbucks and Grey's Anatomy is and what's funny is Grey's Anatomy is actually on ABC, and that's Good Morning America. I know I'm here on the Today Show, is NBC, whatever, but Sunday Night Football's on NBC. Shout out Mike Tirico, baby. But yeah, so go Hawks, and no to the Commanders. Yeah, go Hawks, baby.
That's what he said. Yeah.
But yeah, so why would anybody want to go there? I mean,
money. That's the only thing they can offer, like in theory, but probably not actually.
I think the only thing they can offer is Terry McLaurin. That's it. And cool. You have a wide receiver to throw to. You have that on a lot of teams. Who would you rather have, Terry McLaurin or DK Metcalf? And Tyler Lockett.
Well, wait, both?
I mean, if you're, you know,
Well,
you
yeah,
know,
I mean,
you
anyone is taking Metcalf and Lockett, I think,
right.
over
Well,
just Terry McLaurin. Yeah,
well, that's the situation that
sure.
Russell's in. You kind of like touched on this, but you didn't totally get there, and that's what I'm here for, to take this thing across the goal line. This is truly a battle of the Washington football teams. Like it, you know, it's really what this is about.
The
Which
original
Washington is superior?
football team versus the former Washington football team now. So in a way, not. Yeah, Russ isn't going there. I was thinking if we were going to talk about the biggest needs.
Well, hang on. Sorry. No, hang on. Before you go there, the Hogs Haven Twitter account tweeted out, everybody go to Hogs Haven for your Washington Commanders content on Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning is also a retail store, just so everybody is aware of that. I'm just going to read the tweet on Twitter at Hogs Haven. Mitch Trubisky is rapidly gaining traction as Plan B if Washington strikes out on Rodgers, Wilson, or Watson, per team sources. Trubisky would very likely be paired with a rookie quarterback. That worked out very well for him. But they just don't view him as a bridge option. Think he was a bad fit in Nagy's offense. So now we're blaming Matt Nagy.
That is so. I hate that so much.
This is your thing. Like sometimes bad people are bad. That's it. Like it doesn't have to be one person's fault. That's it. I mean,
well, you know, didn't the Carson Wentz thing just disprove all of that? Like, oh, he was just a bad fit with Doug Peterson in Philly. Get him back to Frank Reich because it'd be totally fine. No, he wasn't.
The Carson Wentz thing is amazing, dude. Like, I don't think the Colts are roasted enough for what they did with this. I don't think the Colts are roasted enough in general.
Still,
I went on a Colts diatribe on Monday Football Monday on the SB Nation NFL show. I hate the Colts now.
I agree with you that Ballard and Reich are skating off too easy. I think Wentz is getting off too easy a little bit, just based in terms of not from a Colts perspective. They're obviously throwing him under the bus, but I saw like Bill Barnwell's article or whatever for like what all AFC, like the one thing that all the AFC teams should do, and it was like keep Carson Wentz because actually he wasn't that bad. I've seen a lot of this. Actually, he wasn't that bad. Like you have to look beyond the stats, people. Like the numbers look great, sure, but like they were running the ball almost less than any other team because they couldn't trust him to throw.
I will say this: he's like, I categorize not that bad as like a club, right? Like there are a lot of people in the not that bad club: Wentz, Garoppolo, Trubisky, Dalton. You know what I mean? And so like if you have one of them, you have all of them. That was my argument on Monday Football Monday. Like so you shouldn't cut Wentz just to go get one of those guys. Was my only point. And that again, I'm not like caping for Wentz, but that's just where they are. But they made this bet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not cutting Carson Wentz so you can trade for Jimmy G. Correct.
But that would be the move. That would literally be like it would cost so like for the Colts, it would cost this, you know, dead cap hit from Wentz and whatever draft compensation, and they already don't have a first round draft pick because of the Wentz trade to like make a lateral move at best. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like for Garoppolo, like what? Like that's stupid. So whatever. Somehow this turned into a conversation about the Colts, which is sad. But that's who Washington is. They're just that uninspiring. Like they are so insignificant, dude. I mean, like just blah. I feel bad for Stabby.
Outside of quarterback, which is their obvious biggest need, and yes, I also feel bad. No, I don't really feel bad, but I mean, it's too bad for him, is what I will say. They need a second receiver. I mean, like it's Terry McLaurin.
Oh, but dude, Curtis Samuel was awesome for Ron Rivera in Carolina. He was awesome. They're going to be awesome. They're one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL, up there with Julio Jones and AJ Brown.
That was so dumb. Like we called that from the jump. Like we picked Curtis Samuel, right?
I called it. You kind of jumped on board, but yes, we did call it.
I mean, I think I was never like I never understood like Curtis Samuel hype. Like I just never understood that. Do you know who was Washington's leading receiver last year? It was Terry McLaurin, right? But who was their second leading receiver? The fact that you don't even can't even venture a guess at the top speaks to the point here. It wasn't Logan Thomas. I'll give you.
I was going to guess Logan Thomas
because he was hurt a lot.
Well, I mean, still, I mean,
yeah.
Was it Antonio Gibson?
It was not.
Who was it?
It was J.D. McKissick, a running back.
That is so sad. Oh
I know. They're second, and also a journeyman running back.
But not even like their top running back. Like, do you remember when? Speaking of like, and again, we do this, or it's like people love to like take the Carolina things and apply them to Ron Rivera in Washington. People do that with like any person that has changed, scenes or whatever. But like, remember the take in the preseason? It was like, well, Ron Rivera wants to use Antonio Gibson the way he used Christian McCaffrey in Carolina. Right. Like, it was so stupid that was
something
a thing.
that gets like shared on Instagram and is like gets to the googly eye emojis, and people are like, oh, watch out.
Yeah. But J.D. McKissick outpaced him in terms of receiving yards.
Let me read you the rest of Washington's like top 8 or whatever it is here, receiving leader. So Terry McLaurin over 1,000, obviously a great player. J.D. McKissick second. Adam Humphries with under 400 yards, by the way, 397 yards. After that, Adam Humphries, DeAndre Carter, Antonio Gibson, Ricky Seals-Jones, John Bates, Cam Sims. Logan Thomas.
I was gonna guess Cam Sims as second. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, he's fourth on if you're just talking about wide receivers. So
why was the emphasis on wide? Like there's like
actual, just not
like long receivers, thin receivers,
like actual receivers and not running backs or tight ends.
Wow.
Yeah. There you go.
Sad, dude. I really think the Giants are turning it around a little bit. I'm a little bit bummed about this. I wrote something over the weekend. It was a poll at Blog on the Boys, and it was, which team are you more afraid of right now as a Cowboys fan, Eagles or Giants? And
everyone said Eagles.
Well, I didn't include Commanders for obvious reasons. But my whole premise was the answer is Eagles today, but long term it's the Giants. Like I'm not saying like the Giants are building a monster. Like that's not my take here, but I do think they're stabilizing, and I think they're if they reach normal mediocrity, that's bad news. Like, because then that 2-game sweep for Dallas and Philly every year is a 1-game split, and now you're stuck.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about expectation and expectation.
Well, I actually, you know what? I'm sorry, because the Eagles already split with the Giants. The Eagles lost to Joe Judge last season.
They did that last year and this year.
The Eagles lost to Joe Judge. I just wanted, in case you didn't say that, the Eagles lost to a Joe Judge-led team
twice. This last season and the year before that.
He owns the Philadelphia Eagles.
He's from Philly, and he's back in New England now.
Rise! That's the only Judge that gets that, with baseball's lockout and everything. So, I bet you love Aaron Judge. I bet you love that.
I've said the Yankees, out of all the New York teams, I don't. If I have to like pick one New York team that I don't hate, and it sounds crazy because everyone would probably take the Yankees because obnoxious, bunch of Cowboys fans as well. I just think they're part of it too is I grew up in an area where I would go to Trenton Thunder games, and they were like the AA affiliate of the Yankees. So I saw like Bernie Williams and some of the
Isn't Trenton the capital of New Jersey?
It is.
Look at me. Wow. Okay.
Nice geography by you. What's the capital of Idaho?
Des Moines? No, that's Iowa.
Big whiff.
They're I've always I'm not the only person. They're the same state in my mind.
Idaho and Iowa?
Yeah, I blend them.
Not even close.
They're the same part of the map. You know
what
I mean?
Not even close.
They're in the same neck of the woods.
Do you know where Idaho is?
It's the same way that everything in the Northeast, all the tiny ones that need the lines on maps to show you the name, all those are the same place to me.
Name a state that borders Idaho.
Montana.
Okay. Yeah.
There we go.
Name a state that borders Iowa.
Montana.
No, not even close.
Nevada.
What's your favorite northeastern state?
Massachusetts.
Why?
It's the only one I've been to. Yeah, it's the only one I've been to. I loved, I also I'm sure there's some, eliteness or, pretentiousness here. I don't know what qualifies as the Northeast. I'm very, unaware of this. So is Pennsylvania a Northeast state? You know what I mean? I loved Pittsburgh when my dad and I went to the Cowboys Steelers game in 2016. I loved that. I don't think that qualifies, but
Pittsburgh is almost like the South to me.
I loved Massachusetts. Obviously a lot of American history. The food was great. It was cold. We had some clam chowder. You know what I mean? Had some great seafood. I think when I think of I think of a summer movie where they're we're going to the coast, the East Coast. They're going there. You know what I mean?
Jaws. Yeah.
Is that where Jaws takes place? I've never seen Jaws.
I believe so. Yeah.
Look at you, king of references now.
Yeah, I watch all the movies and TV shows now.
Wow. Okay.
I don't think I had anything
So
else to
you
say.
like the Yankees? My take on that is
I don't hate the Yankees as much as other people do, especially
my
from Philly.
my take on that is, as your friend, my read is that of the Philly teams, the Phillies are the one you are least passionate about. So
I mean, it kind of depends on the moment. I would say I'm more interested in the Phillies right now, slightly, but more than the Flyers. The Flyers are just like directionless and don't have any interesting. There's literally no reason. So maybe this is like how some Washington fans feel or Giants fans have felt. Like there's literally no reason to watch the Flyers because like they don't have any young players. There's no like vision. Like when the Sixers were really bad and they went through the process and they were tearing it down, I watched all those games because I still had fun because I understood there was a vision here. Like we have young players. We're going to be bad on purpose. We're all built, but we're building towards something. There's at least a long-term plan in place. Like with the Flyers and like for Washington and some of these directionless teams, like what's the reason to watch? Like what do you hang your hat on? There's nothing.
anyway, the Giants getting it turned around. Sucks to see. So.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all about expectation. Like I was saying here at the start, and they have such a low bar to clear.
I'm going to be so depressed. And look, I love Zeke, and I don't want to turn into like cut Zeke cuts. That's not my point. But I'm going to be so depressed as just somebody who's rooting for the Cowboys to like figure out the process, to use that word that you just did. I know you used it because it was like the process. Like that word had never been used before ever in the history of language. But anyway, I'm going to be so depressed when the Giants cut Saquon before
I
the
was just going to
Cowboys
say,
cut Zeke.
you were like circling around this, and I was thinking in my head.
Circling around like Jaws.
Yeah, circling around like Jaws. By the way, James Harden and Joel Embiid looking very good. Feeling
Jaws
very good
Harden.
about that.
Jaws Embiid.
That doesn't make any sense. What's like the move to you that makes you go, oh no, like the Giants, like
they cut Saquon.
Yeah, right. Like, well, I think it would be like trading him. It's like you trade even for anything. Like even if they can get like a 7th or 6th.
Yeah, well, it's like I find like that speaks to Howie Roseman, who you called an imbecile, that he got a 1st-round pick for Carson Wentz. like that's
third, yeah.
That's amazing that he got anything. It is amazing, but I mean, it again, like you're right. If they trade it only bolsters the idea in my mind. But if they cut, I would almost actually be more impressed if they cut him, because it would be.
I don't think that's going to happen.
But it would be an acceptance. It would be an acceptance of we just have to move on. Like that's what's best for our team, and that's what the Cowboys won't do. And that's not only applicable to Zeke, but I mean that would trouble me the most as a Cowboys fan from the perspective of they are understanding the right way to think, and that would suck a lot. So, and then you want to talk about like googly eye emojis, like it would be like, you know, the Jets are interested in Saquon. Although Michael Thomas was awesome last year, but you know, like who would be the 49ers are interested in Saquon.
The Dolphins.
Kyle Shanahan would use him. He'd finally have an elite running back in his offense instead of Raheem Mostert and, you know, all these other people. There's the only one I could think of at the top of my head.
All these
who
other people.
actually played for Miami as well. But cool. Let's predict that if Saquon is not a Giant next season, he is a what?
Dolphin. Mike McDaniel. Is there any like? No, I guess not.
I was thinking like Penn State.
Not really. James Franklin. No,
he's a Seahawk.
I mean, that's the right vibe, but I think they're going to re-sign Penny after he had that stretch down the year, and I think they're going to make him their guy. And they still have Chris Carson, I guess, too. I don't know what's up with him because his contract's going to be up. I don't know. Haven't paid attention to that.
Saquon, he just, I watch his games in college, and I mean, it's remarkable. I mean, you think it and you don't say. I mean, he's
going to bring up the
Barry
Superman
Sanders
touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm a Big Ten guy. I mean, and so I never root for him against Wisconsin or anything, but but I mean, against Ohio State and Michigan, I mean, the big house. I mean, man, I mean, and they had some great backs there. I mean, Miles Sanders was great, but Saquon, he's just another. I'm just excited. It's a privilege to turn around and know I get to hand the ball off to him, and we got these great offensive linemen blocking for us, and these great receivers downfield blocking, and these great coordinators coordinating, and then we'll score a touchdown, great kicker kicking field goals. I mean, it's just it's go Hawks, baby.
If Russell Wilson gets traded to the Giants, which I don't think he will, but if he does, how quickly does he adopt a New York accent? That totally happens, right?
Yeah, I actually will posit a different question to you, and this hinges on baseball being played, but how quickly is Russell at a Yankees game?
I mean,
Like it's like the next day,
Yeah,
right?
right. He's throwing out the first pitch the next
Like
day.
it's literally the very next day. So yeah, wow, that'd be awesome.
He'll do that with any team he goes to, though. Probably they're like assuming they have a
no,
baseball.
not to that level of speed. Like the Yankees,
Not to that level, but it will happen. It will.
And then he'd be like in his interview there when he's being interviewed and he's wearing the like Yankee jersey, be like, now I just gotta go to the Garden, and I want to sit next to Spike, and Sierra and I we have some projects in the works. I'd love making films. I mean, I've been a producer on some things. I was in the Entourage movie. I mean, I would love to just be around that greatness, and that's the greatness we're looking to bring to the Giants. I mean, is that great? Go blue. Go blue.
Wouldn't it be a crime like if Russ doesn't end up in the NFC East now, based on like how much we talk about him here, and also almost a crime that you didn't get to interview him. Although Stats obviously did a good job when he interviewed Russell Wilson for the SB Nation NFL show, but like I almost need you. I wish we could get him on the mixtape somehow, and you could just interview him in his voice. I think that'd be really good.
It would be Russ interviewing Russ. I mean, you know what I mean?
You might like it. I think he's like, for all the crap that Russ gets about being like kind of like a robot and weird, and like understandably so. Like, I don't know, like he was pretty good with stats. Like he played with stats and he threw it right back at him. Like he wasn't like because a lot of players I feel like would like shut that down or like be like just kind of like not understand what was happening.
I realize Russ has become like the official meme of the mixtape, but to be very clear, I love Russell Wilson. Like, think about it. Like, his worst quality is that he's too like corny and cheesy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he's a great person. He's a great player. He's a great if you want to play, he's a great
when he was.
He's a great role model. Like, he's perfect. He's like the perfect face of an organization. Like, I love Russell. He's my favorite non-Cowboy in the NFL. And so, I mean,
it was Jersey. Yeah,
I do.
And speaking of like, you guys were talking about all the broadcast moving pieces on the look ahead last week. I mean, Russell Wilson, I don't think is there just yet. I think he still has a lot of good football in him, but I mean, I think he's going to be really good. Like I liked him a lot. I was surprised because he was on, I think, with the first Manning cast of the year, right? Like the second one, if I'm not mistaken.
It was the Raiders Ravens.
Yeah, so it was the first then. And
well, Duke, and it that was the first time that Eli became invisible. Like it was just Russ and Peyton like going back and forth, and it was awesome. Totally with you.
I was shocked too because you have this perception of Russ like, oh, he's not going to say much. He's kind of like he's going to be boring. No, he was great. I was like, wow, this is like really good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from him in his post-playing career after he retires from the Eagles in 2032.
Very vividly remember after his rookie season when they lost in the divisional round to the Falcons. Remember they had beaten RG3's Washington team in the wild card round. He was on the NFL Network morning show for a conference championship week. And I remember Rich Eisen talking about like he's always like the first dude who shows up. He's there like at 5 a.m. whatever for that show. And Russ was already there, like in the makeup chair or whatever it was. And my point is he is a grinder, and like I respect that above anything else. Like we're bloggers. Like I respect the grind and the hustle, and that is who Russell is.
Real hardworking people. Yeah.
I mean, no, but like you got to grind to be a blogger. That's all I'm saying. Like there's a grind. You know what I'm talking about. But like in a much more respectable way, Russell Wilson is a grinder. So I respect that. You got sometimes you know what they say, BLG. The meat doesn't grind itself, and so
Did you see Jimmy Kempski's column about why the Eagles should trade for Russell Wilson? Did you get a glimpse of that?
No, and I don't care. Okay. If it's so that I can talk like this every week, then I'm cool with it.
Yeah, you're welcoming. Well, you kind of do think Russ is washed a little bit. You're kind of, or at least more so than maybe some people.
I think his peak is behind him. That's how I would verbalize it.
So the way that Jimmy actually put it, I think I heard him on the radio talking about his interview today. It was on WIP in Philly. He was saying he felt like he almost saw like the best of Russell Wilson that he's ever seen in his first 5 games before he got hurt last year. And obviously the numbers are there to kind of help support that, but just based on like watching him, not just even looking at the stats, that's how he felt. So the thing that kills me, RJ, about like I don't think Russ is going to be an Eagle, in part because I don't think he's going to want to come here or whatever. Like this idea that like the Eagles are too far away to trade for Russell Wilson. I hate it so much. It is the bane of my existence. I really cannot. It just makes no sense to me. Like, what are you talking about? You're too far away to have a Hall of Fame quarterback. According to this one metric that is not like the certified thing, but I tweeted out yesterday because it helped support my argument. So therefore, it's a good piece of data. Guy named Arjan Menon, who kind of contributes to PFF. He came out with this quarterback health composite score thing. I don't know if you saw this. And I couldn't find one for the end of the season, but this was from like early December. So, a good sample size here for most of the season. Jalen Hurts was second in this metric last year. And that's not me saying I believe like the Eagles have the second best quarterback situation of any team in the NFL. I don't think that's the case. But this people are acting like they're like 32nd or like 30th, like they're at the very bottom of the league, and you get a quarterback and it doesn't even make a difference. Like that is so stupid to me. It's crazy, and it's like you have the picks now. You're not going to have them later. Like I just think the time to get Russell Wilson, if you can get him, is now.
The time is now. BLG is the first person to ever say that sentence in any capacity in the history of mankind. This was a good Just Riffin' Baby episode. Next week, we'll be getting ready for free agency, so it'll be a little bit more organized. But on Twitter, Brandon Gowton, on Twitter, RJ Ochoa, hashtag Mixtape Morning to let us know which morning show you prefer. BLG, this is March. The last 8 words belong to you.
RJ can't win MVP on his own podcast.
I hate you. Later, everybody. We love you. We love you, but not BLG.